The calendar is about to flip to July. And for millions of shoppers, that could mean paying more for the exact same groceries they've been buying all year. What if you had just one more trip to the grocery store before prices started climbing? Would you know which items are actually worth stocking up on? Or would you end up filling your cart with foods that spoil before you ever get the chance to use them? The truth is, smart preparedness isn't about buying everything in sight. It's about knowing which everyday grocery items offer the greatest value before seasonal demand, inflation, higher transportation costs, extreme weather, and supply chain pressures begin pushing prices upward. Every year, summer brings a unique set of challenges to the food system. Heat waves can affect crops. Hurricane season can disrupt transportation. Fuel prices often influence shipping costs. Holiday demand increases for many products. And as families continue watching their grocery budgets, pantry staples become more important than ever. That's why experienced preppers don't wait until prices have already gone up. They prepare while store shelves are still full and sales are still easy to find. Today's countdown features 9 grocery items you should consider buying before July 1st, 2026. These aren't luxury products. They're practical, everyday foods that millions of families already use on a regular basis. Some can last for years when stored properly. Others simply become much more expensive later in the year, making an early purchase a smart financial decision. And remember, this video isn't about creating panic. No one can predict exactly what grocery prices will do over the coming months. Instead, this is about reducing risk. Because when you're prepared, sudden price increases become an inconvenience, not a crisis. As we count down from number 9 to number 1, you'll learn why each item deserves a place in your pantry, how to store it correctly, and why experienced preppers consistently prioritize these foods before seasonal price increases begin. Some of the items near the top of today's list may surprise you because they're hidden ingredients behind dozens of everyday foods. So make sure you stay until the very end. The number 1 item could save you far more money than you might expect. And before we begin, if you enjoy practical preparedness, emergency food storage tips, smart grocery strategies, and ways to stay ahead of rising prices, be sure to subscribe to Prepper Pulse and turn on notifications. Every week, we share realistic preparedness advice designed to help you protect your family without overspending. Now, let's begin with grocery item number 9. Number 9. Peanut butter. Kicking off our countdown at number 9 is one of the most underrated pantry staples you can buy before July 1st. Peanut butter. It may seem like an ordinary grocery item, but experienced preppers know it's one of the best values in the entire supermarket. Why? Because peanut butter checks almost every box. It's shelf-stable. It's packed with protein. It's high in healthy fats. It provides a surprising amount of calories in a small container. And perhaps most importantly, almost everyone in the family will actually eat it. That's a huge advantage. One of the biggest mistakes new preppers make is buying foods simply because they store well, only to discover months later that nobody enjoys eating them. Peanut butter is different. For many households, it's already part of the weekly grocery routine. It goes on sandwiches. It's added to smoothies. It can be spread on crackers, apples, bananas, celery, or toast. It's used in cookies, sauces, oatmeal, desserts, and even savory recipes. That versatility makes it one of the smartest foods to have on hand if grocery prices begin rising later this summer. So why buy it before July 1st? There are several reasons. First, peanuts are an agricultural crop, and like every major crop, they're affected by weather. Excessive rainfall during planting, extended drought, extreme heat, unexpected storms. Any of these conditions can reduce yields and increase production costs. Second, peanut butter isn't made from peanuts alone. Manufacturers also rely on cooking oils, packaging materials, transportation, electricity, and labor. If those costs continue increasing, the price of every jar on the shelf follows the same direction. Then there's consumer demand. When families begin looking for affordable alternatives to expensive meats, peanut butter often becomes one of the first products they reach for. It's inexpensive compared to many other protein sources, making it especially popular during periods of inflation. That increased demand can quickly empty store shelves during times of uncertainty. Experienced preppers understand this pattern. They don't wait until everyone else starts stocking up. They build their pantry gradually while prices remain reasonable. Storage is another major advantage. Most unopened jars stay fresh for many months, and many have best-by dates well into the future. Keeping them in a cool, dry pantry away from direct sunlight helps preserve quality for as long as possible. Natural peanut butter may require a little more attention because the oils separate over time, but commercially processed varieties are generally very easy to store and rotate. Speaking of rotation, that's one of the smartest preparedness habits you can develop. Instead of buying a dozen jars and forgetting about them, use the oldest jar first and replace it during your next grocery trip. Over time, you'll always have a fresh supply without wasting food. Another reason peanut butter ranks so highly is its convenience. During a power outage, you don't need electricity to prepare it. You don't need to cook it. You don't even need hot water. A peanut butter sandwich can provide a filling meal in just a few minutes. That makes it incredibly valuable during storms, blackouts, or other emergencies when cooking isn't practical. It's also a great morale food. In stressful situations, familiar flavors can make a big difference, especially for children. Having foods your family already enjoys helps maintain a sense of normalcy when daily routines are disrupted. Preparedness isn't just about calories. It's about comfort, flexibility, and reducing stress. That's why peanut butter earns the number 9 spot on today's list. It's affordable, nutritious, easy to store, and one of the smartest grocery purchases you can make before July begins. But the next item is even more important. It's a pantry staple found in nearly every home, and if prices continue climbing through the summer, many families may wish they had bought just a little extra while it was still affordable. Number 8. Pasta. At number 8 is a pantry staple that's simple, inexpensive, and capable of feeding an entire family without stretching your grocery budget. Pasta. Walk down any supermarket aisle, and you'll find dozens of varieties. Spaghetti, penne, macaroni, rotini, fettuccine, elbow noodles, shells, lasagna sheets. No matter which shape you prefer, pasta has one thing in common. It's one of the most affordable meals you can buy. That's exactly why it's so important to pick up before July 1st. During periods of rising grocery prices, inexpensive staple foods often experience a surge in demand. Families looking to cut costs naturally begin replacing expensive meals with budget-friendly options. Pasta is usually one of the first choices. Think about it. A single box can become dinner for an entire family when paired with pasta sauce, canned vegetables, ground meat, tuna, or even just butter and simple seasonings. It's filling. It's versatile. And it stretches your grocery dollars further than many other foods. But pasta isn't immune to inflation. In fact, its price depends on several factors that shoppers rarely think about. The biggest one is wheat. Most pasta is made from durum wheat, a crop that depends heavily on favorable weather conditions. Droughts, floods, extreme heat, or poor harvests can reduce production and increase the cost of wheat before it ever reaches the pasta factory. Then there are manufacturing costs. Turning wheat into pasta requires industrial equipment, electricity, packaging materials, labor, and transportation. If energy prices rise, if diesel fuel becomes more expensive, or if packaging costs continue increasing, those added expenses eventually show up in the price you pay at the checkout line. Another reason to buy pasta before July is that it stores exceptionally well. Unlike fresh foods that spoil quickly, unopened pasta can remain shelf-stable for a long time when kept in a cool, dry pantry. That makes it one of the easiest foods to stock without worrying about waste. Experienced preppers often recommend buying what your family already eats rather than chasing trendy emergency foods. Pasta fits that philosophy perfectly. If you normally cook pasta once a week, buying a few extra boxes during a sale simply means you're purchasing future groceries at today's prices. That's smart budgeting, not panic buying. Storage couldn't be much simpler. Leave unopened boxes in a dry location, away from moisture and pests. For even longer storage, Some preparedness enthusiasts transfer pasta into airtight containers or food-grade buckets to help protect it from insects and humidity. Rotation is just as important. Use the oldest boxes first and replace them during regular shopping trips. This keeps your pantry fresh while ensuring nothing goes to waste. Another advantage of pasta is how well it pairs with other emergency foods. Canned chicken, canned tuna, jarred pasta sauce, powdered cheese, freeze-dried vegetables. Even a few basic spices can create dozens of different meals, helping prevent menu fatigue during extended periods of high grocery prices or supply disruptions. And because pasta cooks relatively quickly, it generally uses less fuel than foods requiring long cooking times, a small advantage that becomes more valuable during emergencies or power outages. Preparedness is often about small efficiencies. Saving a little money here, using a little less energy there, building flexibility one grocery trip at a time. That's exactly why pasta earns the number 8 spot on today's countdown. It's affordable today, easy to store, incredibly versatile, and one of the smartest pantry staples to purchase before seasonal demand and higher production costs have a chance to push prices even higher. And the next item may surprise you. It's not flashy. It's not expensive. But it's one of the most dependable foods you can have in your pantry. And when families start tightening their grocery budgets, it's often one of the first products to disappear from store shelves. Number 7. Canned beans. At number 7 is one of the most dependable, and often overlooked, foods in any grocery store. Canned beans. They may not be the most exciting item in your shopping cart, but when it comes to preparedness, nutrition, and value, few foods can compete with them. Black beans, pinto beans, kidney beans, navy beans, great northern beans, chickpeas. No matter which variety you prefer, they all have something in common. They're affordable, they're filling, and they're ready to eat straight from the can if necessary. That's a major advantage during emergencies. If a storm knocks out power or you're unable to cook, canned beans can still provide a satisfying meal without requiring electricity or even a stove. But emergency situations aren't the only reason to buy them before July 1st. Canned beans also make excellent financial insurance against rising grocery prices. As inflation pushes meat prices higher, many families naturally begin looking for lower-cost sources of protein. Beans are usually at the top of that list. They're packed with plant-based protein, rich in fiber, and surprisingly versatile. You can add them to chili, soups, rice dishes, tacos, burritos, salads, casseroles, or simply heat them with a few seasonings for a quick side dish. A single can stretch an entire meal while helping reduce the amount of expensive meat you need to buy. That's exactly why demand often increases during periods of economic uncertainty. When millions of shoppers begin making the same budget-conscious decisions, store inventories can disappear much faster than expected. Another reason canned beans deserve your attention is their long shelf life. Unlike fresh vegetables, they don't require refrigeration before opening. When stored in a cool, dry place, they can remain usable for years, making them one of the easiest pantry staples to build gradually over time. Experienced preppers rarely buy dozens of cans in a single trip. Instead, they pick up 1 or 2 extra cans every time they shop. It doesn't seem like much at first, but after a few months, they've built a substantial emergency supply without putting extra strain on their budget. That's the power of consistency. Another benefit is convenience. Most canned beans are already cooked. That means they require very little preparation, which saves both time and energy. During periods when electricity or cooking fuel is limited, foods that require minimal preparation become especially valuable. If you choose lower sodium varieties, or rinse regular canned beans before using them, you can also reduce the amount of salt while still enjoying all the nutritional benefits. Some families even keep a variety of different beans on hand to avoid meal fatigue. One night it might be black bean tacos. The next night, white bean soup. Then chili made with kidney beans. Simple variety helps make emergency food feel much more like normal family meals. There's also an important budgeting lesson here. Preparedness isn't about replacing fresh food. It's about creating options. If fresh groceries become unexpectedly expensive, Canned beans allow you to prepare nutritious meals while waiting for prices to stabilize. That flexibility can save hundreds of dollars over the course of a year. And unlike many trendy survival foods, canned beans are something you'll probably use anyway. Nothing sits in storage gathering dust. Everything becomes part of your normal grocery rotation. That's one of the smartest preparedness strategies you can follow. Canned beans earn the number 7 spot because they're inexpensive, nutritious, shelf-stable, and capable of replacing more expensive ingredients when grocery prices begin climbing. As food costs continue changing, having a dependable source of protein already in your pantry can make a bigger difference than many people realize. But now we're moving into the top 6. The next item is one of the most important breakfast foods in America, and if production costs continue rising through the summer, shoppers could find themselves paying considerably more for something many families buy every single week. Number 6. Oats. We've reached the top 6, and the next item is one that quietly delivers more value than almost anything else in the grocery store. Oats. They may not grab your attention the way expensive cuts of meat or overflowing produce displays do, but experienced preppers know oats are one of the smartest foods you can buy before July 1st. Why? Because they offer an incredible combination of affordability, nutrition, versatility, and long shelf life. A single container of rolled oats can provide dozens of servings for just a few dollars. That's hard to beat. For families trying to stretch their grocery budget, oats are one of the most cost-effective breakfast options available. But they're far more than just breakfast. Oats can be blended into smoothies, baked into muffins and cookies, used to make homemade granola, added to meatloaf or meatballs as a budget-friendly extender, mixed into yogurt, ground into oat flour for baking, or even turned into overnight oats for quick, ready-to-eat meals. That versatility makes them an excellent pantry staple, especially during periods of rising food prices. So why buy them before July? Like every agricultural crop, oats depend on successful growing seasons. Extended drought, excessive rainfall, unexpected heat waves, poor harvest conditions. Any of these can reduce crop yields and tighten supply. At the same time, farmers continue facing higher expenses for fertilizer, fuel, machinery, labor, and transportation. Even if harvests remain relatively stable, those production costs can still work their way into grocery prices. Then there's changing consumer behavior. When inflation pressures family budgets, shoppers naturally look for foods that deliver more nutrition per dollar. Oats consistently rank near the top of that list. As demand increases, stores can sell through inventory much faster than usual, especially during promotional sales. Experienced preppers understand something many shoppers don't. The best time to buy a pantry staple isn't when everyone else is buying it. It's before demand spikes. Buying 1 or 2 extra containers now could mean avoiding higher prices later in the year. Storage is another reason oats deserve a place in every preparedness pantry. When kept unopened in a cool, dry location, they already have a long shelf life. For even longer storage, many preppers transfer rolled oats into airtight containers or mylar bags with oxygen absorbers to help protect against moisture and insects. The result is a food that can remain fresh for years when stored properly. Rotation is simple. Use your oldest container first. Replace it during your next grocery trip. Over time, you'll always have a fresh supply without wasting food. Another advantage is cooking efficiency. Compared to many grains, oats cook relatively quickly, using less fuel and less time. During emergencies or power outages, that can be a meaningful benefit. Some varieties, like quick oats or instant oats, require even less cooking, making them ideal when resources are limited. Oats also help reduce dependence on more expensive breakfast foods. If cereal prices climb, if eggs become expensive, or if bakery items cost more than you're comfortable paying, a bowl of oatmeal remains one of the most affordable, filling, and nutritious ways to start the day. Add a little cinnamon, a spoonful of peanut butter, some raisins, a drizzle of honey, or fresh fruit when it's available. Simple ingredients can transform oats into dozens of different meals. Preparedness is often about flexibility. The more ways you can use a single food, the more valuable it becomes. That's exactly why oats earn the number 6 spot on today's countdown. They're affordable, dependable, easy to store, and capable of helping families stretch their grocery budget during uncertain times. And now we're entering the top 5. The remaining items aren't just smart purchases. They're the kinds of grocery staples that experienced preppers almost never overlook. The next one is found in nearly every kitchen. Yet many people don't realize how quickly its price can rise when global supply chains and crop production come under pressure. Number 5. Cooking oil. We've officially reached the top 5, and the next grocery item is something most people use almost every single day. Cooking oil. It doesn't usually get much attention. It's not the kind of product people get excited about. But try cooking for a week without it. Suddenly, frying eggs becomes difficult. Sautéing vegetables isn't as easy. Baking recipes don't turn out the same. Even simple meals become more challenging. That's because cooking oil is one of the most essential ingredients in the modern kitchen. Whether it's vegetable oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, avocado oil, or olive oil, nearly every household depends on some type of cooking oil throughout the week. And that's exactly why it's worth buying before July 1st. Unlike many grocery items, cooking oil is affected by a combination of global and local factors. It all begins with the crops. Soybeans, sunflowers, canola, oil palms. Each one depends on favorable weather conditions to produce healthy harvests. A drought in one region, flooding in another, or unusually high temperatures during the growing season can reduce production and tighten global supplies. But growing the crops is only the first step. The seeds and fruits must be harvested, transported, processed into oil, bottled, packaged, and shipped to retailers across the country. Every stage depends on fuel. Every stage requires labor. Every stage consumes energy. When those costs rise, the final price of cooking oil usually follows. Another important factor is demand. Cooking oil isn't just sold to families. Restaurants use it every day. Fast food chains depend on it. Bakeries need it. Food manufacturers use it in thousands of packaged products. When demand from both households and businesses remains strong, supplies can tighten surprisingly quickly. That's why experienced preppers rarely wait until prices start climbing. They build a small reserve while shelves are full and sales are still available. Notice the word small. Preparedness isn't about clearing out an entire shelf. It's about buying intelligently over time. Picking up one extra bottle during a sale may not seem significant today, but after several shopping trips, you'll have enough to comfortably ride out temporary price increases without changing your normal routine. Storage is straightforward. Keep unopened bottles in a cool, dark, and dry location. Avoid placing them near ovens, heaters, or windows where heat and sunlight can shorten their shelf life. And don't forget to rotate your supply. Use the oldest bottle first and replace it with a new one during your next grocery run. This simple habit ensures that your emergency pantry stays fresh while eliminating waste. Some families also choose to keep more than one type of oil. A neutral oil like vegetable or canola oil works well for frying and baking, while olive oil is excellent for lower heat cooking, salads, and many Mediterranean-style recipes. Having options gives you flexibility if one variety becomes difficult to find or significantly more expensive. Cooking oil also plays an important role in emergency cooking. When you're relying on shelf-stable foods like rice, beans, pasta, or dehydrated vegetables, a little oil can improve flavor, texture, and overall satisfaction. It's one of those ingredients that quietly makes almost every meal better. That's why experienced preppers never overlook it. Cooking oil earns the number 5 spot because it's affordable to stock today, easy to store, used almost daily, and closely tied to global agriculture, energy prices, and transportation costs. If prices begin climbing after July 1st, you'll be glad you bought a little extra while it was still reasonably priced. And now we're moving into the top 4. The remaining grocery items are among the most valuable staples you can have in your home. The next one has fed civilizations for thousands of years, stores exceptionally well, and becomes one of the first foods people reach for whenever grocery budgets start getting tight. Number 4. Rice. At number 4 is one of the most important pantry staples in the world. Rice. For billions of people, Rice isn't just another side dish. It's the centerpiece of countless meals. And for good reason. It's affordable. It's filling. It's easy to prepare. And it pairs with almost every type of protein and vegetable you can imagine. That's exactly why experienced preppers consider rice one of the first foods to stock before seasonal price increases have a chance to take hold. Think about how many meals become possible with a simple bag of rice. Chicken and rice. Beans and rice. Beef stir-fry. Fried rice. Rice soup. Rice casseroles. Stuffed peppers. Burrito bowls. Even if fresh ingredients become more expensive later in the year, rice helps stretch those ingredients much further. A single pound can provide multiple meals for an entire family. That makes it one of the best values in any grocery store. So why buy it before July 1st? One major reason is uncertainty in global production. Rice is grown in regions that depend heavily on stable weather patterns and reliable water supplies. Long periods of drought, severe flooding, or unusually high temperatures can all reduce harvests and tighten global supply. Unlike some crops that are produced almost entirely within one country, rice is traded internationally on a massive scale. That means events happening thousands of miles away can still influence the price you pay at your local grocery store. Another factor is transportation. Rice travels through a long supply chain before it reaches your pantry. It must be harvested, processed, packaged, loaded onto trucks, trains, or ships, moved through warehouses, then delivered to retailers. Every step depends on fuel and labor. If shipping costs increase during the summer, those expenses often appear in grocery prices only weeks later. There's also consumer behavior. When families begin cutting back on expensive foods, rice is one of the first products they buy more of. It's inexpensive. It lasts a long time, and it makes other foods go further. That surge in demand can empty shelves surprisingly fast whenever people become concerned about inflation or supply shortages. Preparedness isn't about predicting the future perfectly. It's about recognizing which foods provide the greatest value if conditions change. Rice is one of those foods. Storage is another reason it ranks so highly. White rice, when kept dry and protected from moisture, insects, and extreme temperatures, can remain usable for many years with proper long-term storage. Many preppers package rice in mylar bags with oxygen absorbers and store those bags inside food-grade buckets to maximize shelf life. For everyday households, even keeping unopened bags in a cool, dry pantry provides an excellent short to medium-term reserve. It's also important to understand the difference between white rice and brown rice. Brown rice contains more natural oils, making it more nutritious in some respects, but those same oils also shorten its storage life. White rice generally remains the better choice for long-term preparedness, while brown rice is best rotated more frequently. Another advantage of rice is its flexibility. Add canned chicken. Mix in vegetables. Season it with spices. Top it with beans. Turn it into soup. Or simply serve it alongside whatever protein is available. One inexpensive staple can create dozens of completely different meals. That's the kind of versatility experienced preppers look for. They don't just ask, how long will this food last? They ask, how many different ways can I use it? Rice answers that question better than almost any other pantry staple. That's why it earns the number 4 spot on today's countdown. It's affordable, dependable, incredibly versatile, and one of the smartest grocery purchases you can make before July begins. Now we're down to the top 3. These final items have the potential to protect your grocery budget more than anything else on this list. And the next one isn't just a pantry staple. It's one of the hidden ingredients behind hundreds of everyday foods that millions of Americans buy every single week. Number 3. Flour. We've reached the top 3, and the next grocery item may be sitting quietly on a shelf in your pantry right now. Flour. It's one of those products that most people rarely think about, until they need it. Then suddenly, they realize just how many foods depend on it. Bread, pancakes, biscuits, pizza dough, cookies, cakes, muffins, homemade tortillas, gravy, pasta. Even simple soups often use flour as a thickener. It's one of the most versatile ingredients in the entire grocery store. And because flour is made from wheat, it's directly affected by many of the same challenges facing global grain production. Poor harvests, drought, flooding, heat waves, higher fertilizer costs, more expensive diesel fuel, increased transportation expenses. Every one of these factors can raise the cost of producing and delivering flour. But here's something many shoppers overlook. Even if you don't bake, you're still buying flour. Almost every loaf of bread, every hamburger bun, every package of cookies, every frozen pizza, every box of crackers, every breakfast pastry, every package of pasta. They're all connected to flour. So when flour becomes more expensive, grocery inflation spreads far beyond the baking aisle. That's why experienced preppers pay close attention to it. Flour isn't just another pantry ingredient. It's a force multiplier. A single bag can produce dozens of meals. Think about that for a moment. With flour, water, yeast, salt, and a little cooking oil, you can make fresh bread at home. Add baking powder, and you can make biscuits. Mix in eggs and milk, and you've got pancakes or waffles. Use simple seasonings, and you can create pizza dough or homemade tortillas. One inexpensive ingredient opens the door to countless recipes. That's a level of flexibility few grocery items can match. Now let's talk about storage. Many people leave flour in the paper bag it came in. That's perfectly fine if you'll use it within a reasonable period. But if you're building a preparedness pantry, there are better options. Many experienced preppers transfer flour into airtight food-grade containers to protect it from moisture, insects, and humidity. Others use mylar bags with oxygen absorbers for longer-term storage. The goal isn't simply to make flour last longer. It's to protect the investment you've already made. Rotation matters too. Use the oldest flour first. Replace it during regular grocery trips. That simple habit ensures your pantry stays fresh without creating waste. Another important preparedness skill is learning to bake before you actually need to. If bread prices climb later this year, knowing how to bake a simple loaf at home could save money week after week. You don't need to become a professional baker. Just mastering one or two reliable recipes gives you an advantage that many households won't have. Preparedness isn't only about what's sitting on your shelves. It's also about the knowledge you build before challenges arrive. And here's something else worth remembering. Buying flour before July 1st isn't about predicting a shortage. It's about locking in today's price on a food your family is almost certain to use eventually. That's simply smart shopping. Flour earns the number 3 spot because it's affordable, incredibly versatile, easy to store properly, and connected to hundreds of foods throughout the grocery store. If prices begin rising later this summer, families with a small flour reserve will have more options and more flexibility than those who waited. Only 2 grocery items remain. The next one is something almost every household uses every single day, yet most people don't realize how quickly its price can climb when global demand, weather, and production costs all begin moving in the same direction. Number 2. Coffee. At number 2 is something millions of Americans can't imagine starting their day without. Coffee. For many people, coffee isn't just another beverage. It's a daily routine. The first cup in the morning. The afternoon pick-me-up. The warm drink that starts conversations and powers busy workdays. That's exactly why even modest price increases get noticed almost immediately. Unlike many pantry staples, coffee isn't grown across large portions of the United States. Much of the world's supply comes from a relatively small number of coffee-producing regions, making it especially vulnerable to weather events and global supply chain disruptions. A prolonged drought can reduce harvests. Heavy rains can damage crops. Unexpected frosts can harm coffee trees. Rising temperatures can affect both the quality and quantity of beans produced. Because coffee plants take years to mature, farmers can't simply plant more trees and solve a shortage in the next season. Recovery takes time. And while supply adjusts slowly, demand remains remarkably steady. Millions of people still want their morning coffee every single day. That imbalance can push prices higher much faster than many shoppers expect. But weather isn't the only challenge. Coffee beans must be harvested, processed, transported to ports, shipped across oceans, roasted, packaged, and distributed to stores. Every step requires labor. Every step depends on fuel. Every step adds cost. If shipping expenses increase during the summer or supply chains experience delays, consumers often see those higher costs reflected on store shelves only weeks later. That's one reason experienced preppers recommend buying coffee before July 1st. Not because they expect shelves to be empty, but because purchasing a few extra bags now could help avoid paying significantly more later. Now let's talk about storage. Whole bean coffee generally keeps its flavor longer than pre-ground coffee because less surface area is exposed to air. If you own a coffee grinder, buying whole beans can be an excellent long-term strategy. For households that prefer convenience, ground coffee also stores well when left sealed in its original packaging and kept in a cool, dry place. Another option many preparedness-minded families choose is instant coffee. It may not satisfy every coffee enthusiast, but it has one major advantage. It stores exceptionally well. It's lightweight. It requires very little space. And all you need is hot water to make a cup. That's why it's a common addition to emergency food supplies. Rotation is just as important with coffee as it is with every other pantry item. Use the oldest package first. Replace it during your next grocery trip. That way your reserve stays fresh while gradually protecting you against future price increases. Coffee also has a value that's difficult to measure. During stressful situations, familiar routines can make a tremendous difference. Whether it's a severe storm, an extended power outage, or a period of economic uncertainty, sitting down with a hot cup of coffee can provide a sense of normalcy that helps reduce stress. Preparedness isn't only about surviving. It's about maintaining everyday comfort whenever possible. That's why seasoned preppers often include a few morale-boosting items alongside their emergency food supplies. Coffee is one of the best examples. It supports routine. It provides comfort. And for many households, it's worth protecting against future price increases. Coffee earns the number 2 spot because it's highly dependent on global agriculture, international shipping, energy costs, and weather conditions, all factors that remain unpredictable as we move deeper into 2026. And now we've reached the moment you've been waiting for. The number 1 grocery item to buy before July 1st, 2026 isn't just a smart pantry staple. It's the foundation of countless foods found throughout your kitchen. If you buy only one extra item from today's list, this is the one experienced preppers would tell you not to overlook. Number 1. Rice. We've finally reached the number 1 grocery item to buy before July 1st, 2026. Rice. If you've watched preparedness experts for any length of time, this probably doesn't come as a surprise. There's a reason rice consistently appears at the top of emergency food lists. It's affordable. It's filling. It's incredibly versatile. And when stored properly, it can last for years. Few grocery items offer that combination of value. But what makes rice the number 1 choice isn't just its long shelf life. It's the role it plays during uncertain times. When grocery prices begin rising, families naturally start looking for foods that stretch their budget. Rice does exactly that. A single cup of uncooked rice expands into several servings after cooking. Pair it with beans, canned chicken, vegetables, eggs, or even simple seasonings, and you've created a satisfying meal at a fraction of the cost of many processed foods or restaurant meals. That's why demand for rice often increases whenever inflation becomes a concern. The more expensive groceries become, the more attractive rice looks. And when millions of shoppers reach the same conclusion, store shelves can empty surprisingly fast. But demand isn't the only factor. Rice production depends heavily on weather, growing conditions, reliable water supplies, harvest quality, transportation, international trade. Because rice is one of the world's most traded food commodities, events in major producing countries can quickly influence prices around the globe. If exports slow, if shipping costs rise, or if poor harvests reduce available supply, consumers often notice the effects at their local grocery store much sooner than expected. That's why buying rice before July 1st isn't about fear. It's about getting ahead of potential price increases while supplies remain plentiful. Now let's talk about choosing the right type. For long-term storage, white rice is generally the best option. Its lower oil content allows it to remain fresh much longer than brown rice when stored correctly. Brown rice certainly has nutritional benefits, but because it contains more natural oils, it has a shorter shelf life and should be rotated more frequently. Storage is just as important as the purchase itself. Keep rice in a cool, dry location away from moisture. For long-term preparedness, many experienced preppers use mylar bags with oxygen absorbers placed inside food-grade buckets. That combination helps protect the rice from air, moisture, insects, and rodents while greatly extending its storage life. If you're simply building a pantry for the next several months, unopened bags stored properly are usually more than sufficient. Remember, preparedness doesn't require buying hundreds of pounds all at once. Even purchasing one extra bag during each grocery trip can build a meaningful reserve over time. That's a strategy almost anyone can afford. And it's one that avoids the panic buying we often see when people wait until a crisis has already begun. Rice also gives you flexibility. It works with almost every cuisine. It pairs with nearly every protein. It can be served as breakfast, lunch, dinner, or even dessert. Very few foods are this adaptable. That's exactly why experienced preppers continue placing rice at the center of their emergency pantry. It provides calories. It stretches expensive ingredients. It stores exceptionally well. And it helps protect your grocery budget when food prices become unpredictable. That's why rice earns the #1 spot on today's countdown. Not because it's the most exciting food in the grocery store, but because it's one of the smartest investments you can make before July 1st. The goal of preparedness has never been to predict the future with perfect accuracy. It's to prepare wisely while you still have options. Buying a few extra pantry staples today could save you a surprising amount of money if prices rise later this year. More importantly, it gives you peace of mind. Instead of reacting to higher grocery bills or empty shelves, you'll already have the essentials your family needs. Small steps taken consistently are almost always better than last-minute panic buying. If you found today's countdown helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Prepper Pulse and turn on notifications. Every week, we share practical preparedness tips, smart grocery strategies, emergency food storage advice, and simple ways to stay one step ahead of uncertain times. Thanks for watching. Stay prepared. Stay informed.